Welcome to the Happy Hormones Coach podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Self, where we chat all about real-life experiences with real women as guest experts and real-life solutions to common and not so common struggles that all of us women have, all while keeping it simple. In this podcast, we will be chatting all about hormones and how it relates to everything in women's health: mind, body, soul, fitness, nutrition, relationships, sexual health, and our overall well-being. This really is for the everyday woman, for informing, for community, for inspiration, for uplifting and encouraging messages in all of life's circumstances, from A to Z. This is real, raw, and unapologetic talk about what once was taboo and is sensitive to talk about, but I'm going there. And I hope you find yourself and solutions in this journey with me, where my motto is happy mind, happy body, happy hormones, happy life, and to simply be happy. If you like what you hear and want to work with me, go to thehappyhormonescoach.com and send me a message. Now, let's dive into it. Sit back, relax, grab some tea or coffee, and listen in with me. Hey there, welcome back to the Happy Hormones Coach podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Self, and today we are continuing our series on frequently asked questions, happy hormones. So let's start. Dopamine. We've all heard of that word and how it relates to our so-called happiness. But what really is it? Why should we care to know about it? Let's start off by defining what it is. In short, it is a messenger, also known as a neurotransmitter, that conveys signals or messages across our neurons. Dopamine, of course, is also one of our happy hormones, since it is primarily responsible for our experiences of happiness. So basically, when we do something that brings us joy or happiness, the dopamine is responsible for us experiencing pleasure or a reward because it's released when we do something or it expects a reward for our actions, right? For an example, I will crave Dr. Pepper every so often. The carbonation, the crisp taste it gives me, the joy and satisfaction every single time I pop open that bottle top and I drink it. That's the dopamine response. When I drink and I get that satisfying, feeling, I know it's my brain being flooded with dopamine. So it really is a cycle of motivation, which is grabbing the Dr. Pepper, and reward from our brain, or for our brain, that the dopamine gives us, which is the experiencing joy or pleasure from that. And I know when I get a Dr. Pepper and have that first sip, I get pleasure. That's my motivation to go back or do something so I can reward myself with that after. Maybe a horrible example, but now you know I love Dr. Pepper, right? Which is not bad. Everyone has their vices. So back onto the subject. Dopamine does not work alone. It also works with serotonin, which we discussed in last week's episode, and that's another happy hormone, and adrenaline, which are other hormones and neurotransmitters. I just want to say, though, I want to take a break and plug this in. Isn't it so cool how our body works? I mean, there's so much intricate details behind the scenes that we have no clue about on a daily basis. I mean, we have no idea what's going on in our body, and it all works together, all these little parts, and it fascinates me. I don't know about you, but seriously, I geek out over this. It's so amazing to me and so awesome. I mean, with us experiencing joy or pleasure, we have multiple hormones and neurotransmitters working to give us that experience. I get so amazed at all of this and how awesome our body is and just how important it is to fuel not only our physical bodies, but also our inside, like our hormones, blood cells, liver, kidneys, brain, and so on. I mean, it all works together. It's just incredible. Anyways, And nutrition, it plays a huge role in all of these functions. That's why nutrition is number one. It is one of the most important factors in hormonal balance and bodily health. Now, dopamine isn't only just for our reward or pleasure. It does have other functions that includes digestion, heart and kidney health, mood and memory and focus, sleep, pain, emotions, blood flow, insulin regulation, stress response, and motor control. So now we have a basic snapshot of what it is. Why should we care though? Well, I believe we should care about having a basic understanding of all of our hormones, not just the happy ones, but all of them, and its functions, so that way we can nourish and fuel ourselves for a total overall well-being. Health is not just about appearance. Someone can look what society may deem as healthy, but truly they may be inside, may be imbalanced mentally or hormonally, may have an eating disorder because of that, or even simply just not getting the daily nutrients the body needs. So we really can't judge by appearance what is healthy or what is not. So we got to fuel ourselves from the inside out. That's what I believe. Inside out. So we need to be aware that not only physical fitness, but it has to start with nutrition also. And when I say that, I know it's not a one size fits all, and I'm definitely not talking about diets in regards to nutrition. Y'all know I hate that word, and for good reason. I really hate the word diet. Totally do. So we should care because dopamine affects lots of bodily functions, not just our pleasure points, and in order for it to do its job alongside with other hormones, we need to synergize or work with it to give us optimal health and happiness. Who doesn't want that, right? Work with our body from the inside out. And I will continue to say that because it is true. So how do we do that? Well, to start, get enough sleep. I cannot say it enough how much sleep is important to us. When you deprive your body of its needed rest, you're also depriving your hormones to renew and do its job along with our muscle growth and so on. You know, when we sleep, our internal organs and muscles are not asleep, and either is our brain. When you rest, you heal, and it's not just some fad saying. It's truth. When you rest, you are healing. You can probably tell if you have low dopamine by your mood, of course, but also by a poor concentration and coordination, because remember, motor control, it helps with motor control also. So if you have poor concentration and coordination, you're probably low on it. You're not as alert as usual, your movement is difficult, your moods are less enthusiastic, and you have just no motivation at all. So those are signs of low dopamine levels. And what are some conditions that may be associated with low dopamine levels? Well, depression for one, and also Parkinson's disease and tremors, because again, it not only affects our mood and emotions, but it also affects our focus, our coordination, and our motor control. So what are some conditions that may be associated with high dopamine levels? Okay, let's talk about that. Obesity. Remember the motivation and reward response I was talking about earlier with the example of Dr. Pepper with me, and schizophrenia and addiction. Again, the addiction is closely associated with that cue, motivation, and reward response that dopamine gives us, just to name a few. And some other things that you can do to boost your levels naturally and effectively are, of course, around nutrition, because that to me is number one. But pay close attention to what your body needs and make sure there's no intolerance or allergies always before trying anything new or different. I do want to put that plug in. Work with your body, not against it again. So for one, protein. Like I mentioned in last week's episode on serotonin, dopamine is related and has some of the same needs. Like trypsin, an amino acid that's important for brain health, you can find it in turkey, eggs, dairy, beef. And also to eat less saturated fat. Now I know I say we need our healthy fats, which we do. It's vital to our brain health and for certain hormones. But Also, like anything, be mindful of how much you are eating, because too much can cause inflammation in your body, which isn't good. So we want to be mindful of even overdoing it on protein in our body. Anything too much of a thing, even if it's good, is not a good thing. So I always just kind of keep that in mind. We want to balance everything out, especially in nutrition. Another thing, probiotics, and probiotics. And I'll even further say, along with fiber and prebiotics. We know that dopamine plays a role in digestion. Our digestion starts in our mouth. Actually, not a lot of people know that, but it does. It starts in our mouth and how we eat. And when we chew, that's exactly when digestion starts. But once it gets to our stomach, we need a healthy, happy microbiome to ensure everything is filtered out and working where and how it needs to work. So I'll say it again. Our bodies have two brains, the gut and our brain. They directly work together. Let's do our part to help them along. And also another thing, exercising is vital. And really walking and any movement helps. I am not saying you need to spend money on a gym membership or anything like that. Really, you can get the best exercise at home. But our body needs movement. Dance, listen to music, that always helps. I mean, that will help you feel good. But I do want to put a plug in though, because like I was saying, so my mom, I'm just going to use her as an example, and I'm sure she won't mind. She's diabetic or got diagnosed with diabetes. Not the insulin kind that she needs, but she was diagnosed with that, was overweight, and, with COVID last year and everything, she actually took it to herself to change her lifestyle, change her diet, and change her movement. She knew what she needed to do. She listened to her body. She didn't want to be on medication if she didn't have to. And it was early enough to where, and low enough to where she can potentially prevent it and treat it. Basically, that she didn't want to be on the meds if she didn't have to. So what she did was started walking around her neighborhood. Now, mind you, she didn't really have a lot of movement before. She wasn't very active, anything like that. But she made herself. She only walked. She has lost so much weight, but the good kind. She's moving, she's eating right. She's literally half her size, and it's not a bad thing. She's not too thin, anything like that. She's actually very healthy. Everything's getting better for her health-wise. She's checked in with her doctor. So really, all I'm saying is you don't have to spend money on a gym. Just be active at home. If that's all you have, walk around the house, walk in the backyard, take the dogs for a walk, do something like that to get your body moving. That helps. That is going to help your serotonin level and your other happy hormones. And it's really going to help boost your dopamine levels as well. It'll have the motivation and the cue and reward response. And you're just going to feel good overall. So that's the motivating factor. So I hope that has helped. I hope you liked my examples. And that's it for now regarding the dopamine. There's always tons to talk about and know about when it comes to each of these hormones each week. But for time and simplicity, I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed doing it. Stay tuned as we continue our series next Wednesday. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It would mean the world to me. Until next week, be simply happy. Hey, before you leave, I wanted to remind you of the 90-day program I have for you to get back to basics and experience what a normal period should feel like. It's called Simply Feeling Good Period, because it doesn't have to be complicated, but does require working together to help get you there. If interested, go to thehappyhormonescoach.com or WhatsApp me or even text me at 541-647-2929. I look forward to hearing from you. thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I loved making it. Remember to subscribe. Oh, and sharing is caring. So if you know that woman who could benefit from this, please share and leave a review. It would mean the world to me to get this message out and start changing women's lives like never before. Interested in how you can work with me directly? Go to thehappyhormonescoach.com and send me a message. I can't wait to hear from you. As always, be simply happy and have a happy mind, happy body, happy hormones, and happy life.